What is up, guys? Welcome back. It's been a minute since I made a video, but I had to put one out. It is late on a Thursday night. The baby is asleep. Mom is away for the weekend, so dad's in charge. I got the baby monitor over there in case she decides to wake up. So I'm gonna try not to be too loud here. I'm just down here in my kitchen, living room. Lighting sucks, but whatever. Let's get to it. I had a lot of people ask me, Ed, what did you do to prepare for your bodybuilding show? What was your diet looking like? What was your cycle looking like? What did you do to prepare? And how did you get shredded like that? So let's do it. Before we get into it, as always, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. I would really appreciate it, guys. Let's help build this channel and get some good information out there on YouTube. So, the breakdown for my cycle. I went on a big bulk over last winter, which I finished up around March or April. I was around 216, 217 pounds. That was the biggest I've ever gotten. So for me, the bulk was successful. I gained some weight, put on some size, I got nice and strong. Now, about April, I started cutting down on my own just to try and lose some weight, get shredded for summer. You know, naturally, summer's coming up. So I cut down to about, probably right around 205, maybe 200. On my own, just doing my normal, diet like I do, eliminating some calories, some extra carbs and fat, whatnot. And a guy at the gym who I always see all the time, I talk to him and his son in there. He trains his son for powerlifting. He comes up to me one day. He goes, Ed, you're looking good, man. Like you're shredded. You look like you're almost a couple weeks out from a show. Like, let me get you ready. Because he was a big time bodybuilder back in the 90s and 2000s. So I'm like, you know what, Ant? His name's Ant. I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. Let's do it. Let's commit to it. So we were originally going to shoot for a show in October. We had this conversation in June. And he's like, you know what? I think you can actually be ready before October. There was another show on August 9th, on my birthday, actually, the PA Muscle. So here we are in June. We got about 8 to 10 weeks to get ready for the PA Muscle. And I'm thinking, all right, maybe I got, 10 pounds to lose to get shredded. I dropped down from 205 to 180 diced for the show. All right? And I'm going to tell you how I did it. Now, first off, the diet was the big thing here. Now, before, when I would go on a diet, I would track my calories and I would eat healthy. But I would start at like 3,000 calories, drop it down 2,800, 2,600, start slowly losing weight. He said, no, we got to cut aggressive. So right off the rip, I think we started at about 1,900 calories. We played with the food a little bit, but for those 8 to 10 weeks, I was floating right around 1,800 to 1,900 calories, which was for me the least I have ever done. I also eliminated a lot of foods from my diet that I normally would eat. There was no more fruit. There was no more Greek yogurt. Pretty much got rid of everything except for chicken, rice, potatoes. I did a lot of sweet potatoes. Some occasional venison. Venison's a very lean meat. White fish like tilapia, mahi-mahi, that was no fat that I would get. But pretty much white fish, chicken, venison, rice, and potatoes. A little bit of vegetables here and there. But other than that, not much. Some egg whites and maybe a little cup of oatmeal for breakfast, but it was very minimal. The diet was simple. I ran pretty much the same thing, like I said, through those 8 to 10 weeks, upping and lowering it slightly. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty here. What did my cutting cycle look like? So, I ended my bulk, like I said, around March or April. I went on a cruise, probably from the end of March to June, where I was taking 150 milligrams of testosterone per week. And I think I was also on 100 milligrams of Primo. So it was a TRT plus, 150 milligrams of test, 100 milligrams of Primo. Now I continued to run that for the next couple weeks until I was 8 weeks out from the show. Now when I was 8 weeks out from the show, I stepped it up. I went to 500 milligrams of testosterone and switched the Primo out for Masteron. I went with 500 milligrams of Masteron. So 8 weeks before the show, 500 test, 500 Masteron. That was a good bit. I started seeing results immediately when paired with the diet. I got nice and shredded and just the striations were coming out everywhere and veins that I had never seen before. It was incredible. So yeah, that was my base there. That was really the majority of it. 6 weeks out from the show, I did add in Anavar at 20 milligrams a day, Proviron at 25 milligrams per day. Now, a lot of guys think this is sissy shit. They're like, why would you take Proviron at all? Why would you take Anavar at 20 milligrams per day? Guys take, 50, 75, 100 milligrams of Anavar. I even know guys who are doing like 200 milligrams of Anadrol a day. All right, but like I said, I do things that are safe, effective, and that work. And by looking at these before and after pictures, you can tell it worked. All right, so trust the process here. The diet's the biggest thing, and then having a good base stack. So 6 weeks out, like I said, I added in the Anavar, the Proviron, and 1 milligram of retatrutide per week. All right, so this was my first experience with a GLP-1. I know retatrutide, it's got the triple agonist, the GLP, the GIP, and the glucagon. It's not as good for appetite suppression, but it's much better for additional fat burning to increase your thermic effect and burn more fat through that glucagon receptor there. So that was my stack. That's what I did. And then I kept it going. So on show day, I came in at 180 pounds. So from April, where I was 216, 217, down to August, I was 180. That's about a 35, almost 40 pound drop. All right. It was a very aggressive cut. I don't actually recommend cutting that aggressively. If you guys plan on doing a show, maybe take a little bit more time, even if it's 12 to 16 weeks to do it, just because that was a pretty aggressive cut. But I will say, I don't think I lost that much muscle mass. I actually looked pretty big, bigger than I thought I was gonna look, stepping on stage at 180. That is how I prepped for my show, guys. I made sure I got blood work before, during, and then I kept running that stack actually after, because the rebound phase is really important. So I upped my testosterone, Masteron 8 weeks out, and continued that until 8 weeks after the show. So I ran a total of 16 weeks on test and Masteron. The Anavar, Proviron, and all that I dropped after the show. I just wanted to get real ripped up and diced for the show, nice and full, vascular, but you didn't need to keep pushing the orals after the show. All right, so I cut them out. I kept pushing the test and Masteron, and then I upped my calories, because the rebound phase is huge for bodybuilding, and if you do it right, you can gain a lot of muscle and minimal fat. So immediately after the show, I upped my calories. I think I started at like 2,600 for the first week or two, then 28, then 3,000. Now I'm eating about 3,600 calories a day. And 2 months after the show, I'm back up. I was at 206 or 207. So a good 25-pound increase in 2 months, but really minimal fat gain. Like, I'm still very lean. I think my arms and my legs remained pretty damn lean after the show, which is crazy. They say don't bulk until you really get lean, and now I believe in that. Because once I got lean and then started kind of not even really bulking again, I could bulk aggressively and go eat 5,000 to 6,000 calories, but I wanted to try and do it slow and steady to gain back the muscle without gaining too much fat. So I followed a very low fat diet. I've only been eating about 50 to 100 grams of fat a day for these last 2 months, which is very minimal, at least compared to most people. The average American diet, who knows how much fat people are eating. But yeah, that's how I approached my recomposition phase, and it's definitely working. I'm 206, 207, and still pretty damn lean, all right? So it works. You gotta get lean in order to bulk, so try it out. If you've never gotten that lean in your life, I was down to, I would honestly say 5 to 6% body fat. And I know people love to undershoot. They say, oh, I'm 5% when they're really probably 10 to 12, but check out the pictures. I really do think I was about 5 to 6% body fat. I was getting so many compliments, even from the bigger guys, saying, dude, like, you can't be standing next to me on stage looking like that. Like, your conditioning is insane. I actually competed in 3 divisions in that bodybuilding show. I did the novice division, an open bodybuilding, and a classic physique. Novice, I took first. I won the novice overall. The novice division is for people who either haven't competed or they have competed, but they just haven't won a first place yet. So I entered the novice division. I took that first place. Boom. My open bodybuilding category, I think the weight class was 176 to 198. So like I said, I came in at 180 on the low end of the class. There were guys that were 198, much, much bigger than me, another 15 pounds or so, but I took it over them just because my conditioning was insane. I came in so lean and diced and striated and veins popping, so the judges really scored on that. And then my classic physique, I got 3rd place. I think for my height class, what was it, 192 or 194 weight cap? So there were some guys, obviously, that were a lot bigger than me. Even in classic, yeah, because I came in at 180, man. It was the smallest I've been in a while. But it went great. We got a lot of compliments. Everybody kept coming up to Ant. They're like, yo, your guy looks great, man. Like, what are you doing with him? Like, how often does he do this? And we're going around telling people this is my first bodybuilding show. And they're like, no fucking way. Are you serious? So that was cool. Yeah. The stack, nice and simple, nothing crazy. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you you need to run 2 grams of testosterone to be successful in bodybuilding. You don't need that, all right? Maybe if you're going open class IFBB Pro, all right. But you can go around these local and regional shows on a minimal dose and blow people out of the water if your diet and training are locked in and you run a small amount of extracurriculars to put the cherry on top. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I hope that gives you a nice little overview of what I did and how I did it. And yeah, feel free, drop a comment if there's anything else you need to know. If you guys ever competed in a show, what kind of approach did you run? Was your prep similar to mine? Did you run more? Did you run less? Did you run other compounds? We want to know, all right? So thank you for watching. Ed out. Boom.